Hello, my friends. Today, the situation at the front remains extremely challenging. There have been 122 assaults in the past 24 hours, which is a very high number. According to the latest information from the Ukrainian Armed Forces, the Russians are bringing everything they have closer to the front line and are attempting to achieve significant success. It has been reported that the Russians have even transferred troops from the Finnish border to Ukraine. Russia has moved most of its troops from the Finnish border to Ukraine. This is reported by the Yale publication citing intelligence sources. According to Finnish intelligence, it will take Russia 3 to 5 years to restore the combat capability of its armed forces after the war. We'll see how successful they are with this soon. Now, let's start with the Kharkiv direction, where the Ukrainian forces continue to carry out counterattacks, although no new changes along the front line have been recorded. The Russians, on their part, are still trying to break through to the village of Liptsi. However, they are not achieving any success, and there have been no changes in the past 24 hours. In Vovchansk, the occupies continue their offensive actions as well. However, most of the city remains under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces, and periodic counterattacks are being carried out to fully clear the city. So far, no changes along the front line have been recorded over the past day. In the Kupiansk direction, the occupiers conducted 11 assaults in the past 24 hours, and the situation is gradually escalating here, with the occupiers storming Sinkivka, and further south, battles are ongoing for Pishane, and breaches have begun in the direction of the village of Kruгляхівка. The General Staff, in its official reports, indicated that fighting is taking place in the vicinity of this village. This partially suggests that Berestove, where prolonged and intense battles were taking place, might now be in the gray zone, as the Russians are breaking through past the village, advancing across the fields by 3.5 kilometers. For now, we are waiting to see how events unfold, but it seems the Russians are once again starting to pressure the defense, and the number of shelling here has also increased. In the Svatove direction, the occupiers are trying to break through to Stelmachivka, but as before, their attacks here are unsuccessful. It's reported that the Russians have started destroying bridges in the Borova area. It appears they are indeed trying to reach Borova, cutting off all supply routes for the Ukrainian forces. Similarly, further south, battles are taking place near Kharkivka and the village of Makiyivka. Over 10 assaults have been recorded in the past 24 hours, and the fighting continues. In the Kreminna direction, the occupiers are continuing their attacks on Nevsky, Terny, and also are engaged in battles in the forest near Kreminna. 5 assaults have been recorded in the past 24 hours, and the fighting continues, but the Ukrainian forces are holding the defense, and the situation remains unchanged. In the Siversk direction, fighting is ongoing near Verkhnyokamensky and Rozdolivka. The occupiers have reduced their activity today, having failed to achieve any success. Therefore, the front line hasn't changed over the past 24 hours. In the Chasiv Yar direction, the occupiers are trying at all costs to push through the Ukrainian Armed Forces defense near Kalinivka. They're assaulting with several units and attempting to get as close as possible to the outskirts of the Novy microdistrict. Similarly, battles are taking place on the outskirts of Ivanivska and Andriivka. Shelling continues at a maximum rate, and reports from the Ukrainian Armed Forces indicate that in Klishchiivka, the occupiers are also trying to breach the defense, and the situation remains very challenging there. The pressure from the Russians is very high, with 17 assaults recorded in the past 24 hours. However, despite this, the front line hasn't changed. In the Toretsk direction, fighting is ongoing between the villages Shumy and Pivdenne, with 6 assaults recorded in the past day. The occupiers are attempting to break through and secure positions near the slag heap, but the Ukrainian Armed Forces are doing everything possible to maintain their defense. Similarly to the south, the occupiers failed to break through to New York, so today they are conducting attacks on Alexandropol. However, there have been no changes in the front line here over the past day. In the Pokrovsk direction, activity is again at its peak, with 43 assaults recorded in the past day. This is almost as intense as during the capture of Avdiivka. Today, the occupiers continue their attacks on Novoalexandrivka and battles are ongoing for Kalinovo. A large number of troops are concentrated towards Novogrodivka. The occupiers are assaulting Yevgenivka with several groups simultaneously. They are also breaking through near the village of Sokil, Novopokrovsk, and trying to enter the outskirts of Novoselivka Persha. To the south, fighting is ongoing for Karlivka. The occupiers have practically secured positions near the outskirts of the settlement and are periodically breaking through to it. So far, there have been no changes to the front line, but the situation remains extremely challenging. In the Kurakhove direction, the occupiers are not ceasing their efforts to fight for the northern part of Krasnohorivka, and they continue trying to fully take control of Paraskoviivka. However, the Ukrainian Armed Forces are doing everything possible to maintain their defense, and over the past day, the front line remains unchanged. In the Vuhledar direction, the occupiers are continuing their attacks on Urozhaine and are breaking through the fields towards Rivnopil. Additionally, shelling continues along the entire front line, but no changes have been recorded over the past day, and the fighting continues. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, the occupiers are today advancing only towards Malatokmachka. Near Novodanilivka, the Russians haven't achieved any success and attacks have ceased in this area, so the front line has remained unchanged over the past day. And in the Kherson direction, shelling of the right bank continues and attempts are being made to push the Ukrainian Armed Forces from the left bank. Attacks are ongoing in the area of the village of Krinky, but the Ukrainian Armed Forces are holding their defense and the front line remains unchanged. Meanwhile, the Russians are gradually starting to acknowledge the shocking reality of their army's losses. Yesterday, we read a comment under one of the posts. Many of you may have seen it. The comment concerns the losses of the 104th Airborne Division near the settlement of Krinky. To say that the number of casualties there is exaggerated would be a lie. We are not allowed to disclose the actual number as the law prohibits revealing losses. But even if we take the reported losses of 2,000 troops from the 104th Airborne Division near Krinky as a basis, the total losses, including medical ones, could reach 6,000 to 8,000 people. Such losses should result in dismissals, starting with the commander of the Dnieper Group of Forces, General Teplinsky. Friends, and these are the casualties just from the assault on the village of Krinky. It's hard to imagine what the real losses are near Chasiv Yar and the Pokrovsk directions, where the most active fighting is taking place. Okay, meanwhile, Everyone sees that the stakes in the war are rising, and that's why the German government is considering providing Ukraine with new air defense systems. The German government is considering the possibility of transferring new NOMADS air defense systems to Ukraine. NOMADS is a highly mobile short-range air defense system that consists of a radar, a launcher, and a command post. Okay, we are waiting for the decision to be made, but in any case, it's clear today that support for Ukraine is increasing. As a result, Putin's squads have decided to take a stand against Scholz.
Все, Шольц, твоя песенка спета. У нас есть свое, светлое, безалкогольное, обширонское, из баварского солода. Запад, ты хотел лишить нас своего баварского пива? Получилось, хорошо. Мы теперь пьем свое, обширонское, безалкогольное, светлое, которое изготавливается на Кубани и пьет вся Россия из нашего теперь баварского солода.
However, after North Korea, Putin has already arrived in Vietnam for an official visit. He will stay here for 2 days, meeting with the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, President, Prime Minister, and the Chairman of the National Assembly. It's planned to sign 20 cooperation agreements across various sectors. It appears that Putin is starting to work using Zelensky strategy, gathering around him the countries that support Russia. Despite this, it's reported that the next peace summit will address 10 points, one of which is the victory of Ukraine. I will translate. Deputy head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, Igor Zhovkva, stated that all points of the peace formula will be discussed at the second Global Peace Summit, which will first be reviewed by countries at the expert, ministerial, and national security advisory levels. According to Zhovkva, the next summit will discuss all points of peace formula, including the 10th, which involves solidifying the end of the war. Countries have long been divided into groups according to their interests. Moreover, we are already cooperating with a number of states. Over the course of months, countries in these groups will hold meetings in their capitals and develop concrete action plans. These plans will then be consolidated into a general action plan to implement the formula and achieve peace in Ukraine, he said. Also, the deputy head of the Office of the President noted that the consolidated plan will be presented to Russia if the aggressor country is ready to respond to it. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.